Welcome back on 49ers Live tonight on location here at Pier 39. We would like to apologize for inconvenience. We had some technical difficulties on our audio system, so we apologize for the inconvenience of what happened. This is a revised. We're going to be on until about 9 o'clock. We'll be here for about until about 9 o'clock. We're now at 8:30 Pacific Standard Time here, 8:30 p.m. at Pier 39 here in San Francisco. So we're here. A lot of Patriots and Seahawk fans. We got the Patriots. I did a piece earlier today. I'm gonna post it up tonight. I'm gonna post it up later tonight when I get back to the studios of the Patriots. I talked with Tony Masarari from 98.5 Sports, the Sports Hub based in Boston, giving a perspective of the New England Patriots, where they have been, who would have ever thought them. But the storylines is the New England the Seahawks are in it for the fourth time in franchise history. They are 1-2 in the Super Bowl in their history. The Seahawks, their first Super Bowl appearance, and this was the fifth time overall they've played in the conference in championship Sunday. Of course, they played in the 1983 AFC Championship game where they fell to the LA Raiders when the Raiders were in Los Angeles, when the Seahawks was resided in the AFC West. And then they moved to the AFC. They moved into the NFC West after the 2001 season. They went to the West in 2002, and they end up, with Mike Holmgren and them doing well. Their second year, they started to dominate the 49ers. In fact, they end up winning 6 out of their next 8 games. Niners beat them twice in 2002. The Niners go on to win the NFC West, but it was Seattle started to dominate the 49ers by winning 6 of 8 from 2003 to 2008 or 2007. And then both clubs split the next 6 games from 2000. You can hear the Seahawks fans behind me. So a lot in contrast, we got a lot of Seahawks fans making the trip from the Pacific Northwest, and we'll be so in contrast, the Seahawks, of course, came into the NFL in 1976, and they had some respectable years. There was Jim Zorn and the Hall of Fame great Steve Largent, and then they had some respectable years in the late 70s through the early 80s, and then Chuck Knox took over the club, and they were and then they end up going on to their first playoff appearance in 1983 when they were residing in the AFC West. They beat the Broncos in the wild card. Then they upset the Miami Dolphins in the divisional playoff, Dan Marino's rookie year. They went to the AFC Championship and lost to the Raiders, and then got back to the playoffs again in '84. They won 12 games. That was then their franchise record, and they beat the Raiders in the wild card game, and then they end up falling to the event. And the Dolphins got revenge in the divisional playoff in '84, but then they had a 10-win season in 1986. Didn't make the playoffs. Maybe they were one of the best teams in the AFC. Probably should have been in the playoffs. They probably on paper were better than the Denver Broncos, but finished only one game back. They got a pretty good start, and they hit into a mid-season slump. And in '86, one of their big wins they had was against the eventual Super Bowl champion New York Giants up at the Kingdome. And then, think about if the Seahawks would have made the playoffs in '86. They may have done some damage in the AFC, in the playoffs in the AFC. And then they were able to get back to the playoffs in '87 and '88. They were a wild card both of those years. Or no, they were a wild card in '87. They won their first ever. They won the AFC West outright for the first time ever in '88, and lost to the eventual AFC champion Cincinnati Bengals, who fell to the heartbreaker to your 49ers in Super Bowl 23. But then after that, they've had some lean years, uncertainty. The Seahawks franchise nearly, the Seahawks, Steve Largent retired. They had some rough times in the early mid '90s of uncertainty. But they had some pretty good players. They had, you end up having a quarterback. You end up having quarterback. Rick Meyer was a bust. You had the late Cortez Kennedy, and you had some pretty good players. Dennis Erickson leaves the Miami Hurricanes, winning 2 national championships. His tenure there in his 6 years down in South Florida. After 6 seasons. After 6 seasons there in Miami, he goes up, heads to take the Seahawks job, and then after that, he was there for he was there from 95 to 98. 4 seasons there. He was fired. Mike Holmgren takes over in 99. They go on to win the AFC. Holmgren leaves the Packers after he had a good run for about 7 seasons there. When you got John Kitna, the quarterback, and there's a lot of even though the Seahawks is the biggest rival, there is a lot of connections between the Niners, Seahawks, and Niners and Niners Seahawks. Players who play for both the Seahawks, players who play for the Seahawks, and players play for the Patriots and the 49ers. The late Russ Francis played for was an All-Pro, played for the Patriots, and then played for the Niners. Got a ring with the Niners in '84. He played with the Niners from '82 to '87. You had Ricky Waters played for the Seahawks, ended his career with the Seahawks, and then Seahawks moved into the NFC West in 2002. And then that's where by 2003, the Seahawks started dominating the 49ers, winning 6 of 8. The Niners were going through some dark, lean times. The Seahawks would win the NFC, their first ever trip to the Super Bowl 2 decades ago. They lose a heartbreaker to the Steelers, 21-10. Might have some questionable penalty calls, and I think that game was much closer than the 21-10 score is less deceiving. This was the Mike Holmgren, Matt Hasselbeck, Sean Alexander Seahawk teams of the early mid-2000s, and then the Seahawks ended up making the playoffs from 03, 04, 05, 06. I think 07. Yeah, they made the playoffs, I think, 5 or 6 straight years. 6 straight years of making the playoffs, and then Holmgren stepped down after the 08 season. I think for 5 or 6 straight seasons they made the playoffs, and then it was Jim Moore taking over for the Seahawks. He was one and done. Then interim Pete Carroll. And, of course, they had that great run with the Legion of Boom. Jim Harbaugh takes over the Niners in 2011. The 2 teams split at 3 different times. For the next 3 years, from 07, 08, 09, they split the next 3. They split the next 3 Niners, and I think at least from 08, 09, 10, 12, 13, 5 times out of the next 6 seasons between 2008 through 2013, the Niners and Seahawks would split the season series, and the only blemish was when the Niners beat the Seahawks twice in Jim Harbaugh's first year as Niners head coach. And then, the year the Niners went to the first of 3 straight playoffs, and, but then Seattle started to dominate the 49ers after the NFC Championship game in 2013. where they ended up winning, I believe, 12 of the next 13 games. The Seahawks, of course, end up going on to win the Super Bowl against the Broncos, while the Niners suffered where they nearly where everything started to fall apart for the 49ers with the issues with the conflict with the front office, the whole Jed York and Trent Baalke, Jim Harbaugh saga. They nearly traded Harbaugh to the Cleveland Browns, and then 2014, some 12, 11 years ago, was one of the more tumultuous years for the franchise, with Alden Smith getting suspended, did what he did, acting all ugly, making a bomb threat, and then after that bomb, after he made that threat, after he ended up making that threat, the NFL suspended him for that. He ended up getting an additional suspension for substance abuse policy. He ended up getting like a 9-game suspension. Ended up missing the first half of the season, and that was significant because and then other issues, players getting in run-ins with the law, the disappointment, and people forget. And then the Seahawks started dominating the 49ers. Pete Carroll, of course, hit. Ooh, oh, I've seen a pigeon fly around. So then you had the domination of the. Oh, hey Rick, if you're watching, come on back on. We fixed the problem. We had some audio technical difficulties. I apologize for the inconvenience, though. So we're back on. So then after, well, you look at that season series between the 49ers and Seahawks rivalry. Look at that all-time of that rivalry. This is from footballdb.com. Just a reminder, we'll have Super Sunday tomorrow, special edition of the World According to Professor B. Super Sunday, Super 60. We'll be back down at the wharf early in the morning. We'll go until kickoff, until later in the afternoon. We will have our special edition of 49ers Live tonight, immediately following Super Bowl 60. So we'll be take a look back at that series of the rivalry of the Niners and Seahawks. According to this is from Football Database. with them, you got to give John Schneider a lot of credit for what he has done with the Seahawks. I mean, I know for a lot of 49er fans, they're not happy to see the longtime hated rival playing in the Super Bowl down at the Mecca, your own home stadium. That's not a pretty thing. But you have to look at it. A lot of the circumstances when when the Seahawks are down, they don't stay down too long. And you got to give John Schneider a lot of credit. He's got a contract extension. Les Snead and them down there for the Rams, they've got their contract extensions. The 49ers this offseason got to start staying with keeping up with the sign of the times. Or you could see the Seahawks start dominating them again because this young Seahawks team that was built by John Schneider. So they're gonna have so they're gonna end up dominating, and then same thing with the Rams. They don't stay down that long. And John Schneider, Les Snead down in Los Angeles, Howie Roseman in Philadelphia. Those teams don't stay alone. They draft very well. And this is going to be a big offseason for Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch. They got to fix the defense. The offensive line going to be a key. I mean, the Max Crosby thing, I really want to be very careful with Max Crosby because you don't want to give up no first-round pick. And then, hearing some stuff with Deebo Samuel trying to come back to the 49ers, I would say no because he's kind of a bit too slow. He will be 30 years old. He's not the same, lost some step, And then Drake Greenlaw, he's under the age of 30. Do I bring him back? I'd probably be undecided. Let's see. Because he's been hurt the last couple of years. He had injured his triceps, and we have to be very careful with that. So there's some other options out there, There'll be some other options out there, A lot of options. I mean, the draft and they need a playmaker at right receiver. I like to see them draft a playmaker and pick up in the draft though too. So we got a lot to take a look at as for the 49ers draft. We'll be talking about that in the coming days and weeks. And then as we look forward for the New England Patriots, what more you can say for that franchise? This is a franchise who kind of have played in more Super Bowls by any team in the NFL over the last 4 in this 5 different decades. Now, I grew up in the mid-'80s, started watching the 49ers, and the Patriots are in the Super Bowl for the 11th time in the last 30 years under Bob Kraft's ownership. 11th time since Bob Kraft took in the reins as Patriots owner back in 1984. This is the 12th time in the last 40 years that the Patriots are appearing in the Super Bowl. All right. So right now at 8:53, we're at 7 minutes before the top of the hour of 9 o'clock. Patriots franchise, this was a franchise who, you go back in contrast, the Patriots end up winning their first ever conference title in '85 as a wild card that they end up winning 3 games on the road to get to Super Bowl 20 before falling to the Chicago Bears, 46-10 in that dominant defense. And then after that, they won the AFC East in '86. Then they would not return to postseason until 1994. And you look back at the Patriots, they went through some tough times in the late '80s. looking at their record, and looking back at of each of the season with the New England Patriots season 40 years ago, and this is when they had Tony East, and you had the veteran backup, veteran ace Steve Grogan, who was there through some lean times to the Patriots. You had Craig James, you had Staley Morgan, their go-to guy. Staley Morgan, Irving Fryer, the former new, who had a pretty good career in the NFL, played for the Patriots, played for the Dolphins, played for the Eagles. And they had the All-Pro linebacker Andre Tippett in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Taking a look where the Patriots finished that year. Patriots end up going NFL in all time. They were going to win the Super Bowl. Next year will mark the 25th anniversary of the Patriots winning that first Super Bowl under Brady and Belichick, and so many great memories. Of that franchise, one of the best class organizations. And then, so we will now. So it's just before we get ready to go tonight. This is going to be the schedule for tomorrow on NBC, the exclusive network home of Super Bowl 60. Check out the events for on NBC. Our friends at NBC will be We will have the post-game recap. We'll have our post-game recap immediately tomorrow, right after the game. When the game is concluded, we'll have our post-game recap back at our satellite digital media studios. Tomorrow we'll be having Super Bowl Sunday, the World According to Professor B Super Bowl 60 edition down here at the Wharf here in San Francisco, getting you ready for Super Bowl 60. And we hope you join us on our flagship tomorrow. And then on Niners Radio 49ers Live postgame show tomorrow night, we'll have Super Bowl 60 wrap-up back in our studios at the Satellite Digital Media Studios in San Francisco. That's going to do it for now. Professor B signing off. And again, and then on Monday, we'll have a full recap of the season recap. And then we'll have the season recap of the 49ers. We'll look ahead of the offseason, the NFL Combine, the free agency coming up in a few weeks. And we will definitely, we'll be, with me doing some other stuff with baseball, I will be when the football season comes to an end, I will be doing some other activities. I will be doing some other activity, doing some baseball stuff, and then we'll still be doing 49ers Live during the off season as well. We will, so we'll be doing some probably once or twice a week, and we'll also get some guests coming on during the off season as well. So we're now at 9:14, 14 minutes past the top of the hour of 9 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. Thank you for watching 49ers Live, special edition on the eve of, we're at Pier 39 here at Fisherman's Wharf in San Francisco. Latest news of the 49ers. So go to 49ers.com and check out NFL.com for all the latest details. That's it for now. Professor B signing off and wishing you so long. And thank you for watching 49ers Live tonight on location at Pier 39 in San Francisco on Niners Radio 49.